let's go ahead and make it a little bit darker. You can make them red if you want. In fact, for this one, we're going to make it pop just a bit. Let's take the color that we have in the top. So let's zoom out. Let's take this color and apply it to our bottom lines. Alright, so we're going to double click on the underlines layer. Click on color overlay. You'll see now it's bright red. Click on your color picker. Go in here and absorb a little bit of that color. And there we go. So now we have the blue that we have up here is going to be the underlines for our buttons down here. Last thing I want to do is move them down just a little bit. Move the divider lines down just a bit. So I'm going to hold down shift and just drag it just, okay, that's going to be too much. We're going to use the arrow keys for this. So if you have the arrow keys on your keyboard, just hit the down button. Once your underlines, with your underlines layer selected, we create all the lines on one layer, so you're controlling them all at once. Just hit the down button. Really only one notch. That's all I did. We'll go ahead and do two. Okay, good. So there we go. And that is going to be the end of the design part of this tutorial. What we're going to do next is slice this up, and we'll go ahead and do that right now. This part isn't really too difficult, but I will show you how we do it. Go over to the crop tool and left click, hold it down, and then you see the slice tool. Right now it's all one big slice. See this 0, 1 up here? That means this is all one huge slice. So what we want to do is cut this up. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that now. I'm going to cut the banner to about there. I'm going to cut each one of these buttons into an individual button. Make sure you get the drop shadows too, or it looks a little awkward. So I'm going to start right about down here and go right until that first divider that we created. So it goes over the whole button, and we'll repeat that process. And make sure your slices are snug with each other. There's no extra spaces. For example, if I stopped it right here, you'll see there's another slice right above it, which can get kind of awkward when you get into putting it into Dreamweaver. It's actually one of the most frustrating parts, is when you save this and export it out to Dreamweaver and you put it into Internet Explorer or something like that. It'll start shifting around the little pieces and it gets everything a little messed up. That's why this is not the best method for creating a website by any means, but it's honestly a great way to understand the fundamentals. What it is going to do is create a bunch of tables instantly. So Photoshop's going to create its own little tables for us. We don't have to do any of that. And it gets you an idea of how to build a website off of that. So I'm going to go down here, keep that. Tables are usually the best place to start when understanding how websites are being designed. And once you start to understand that, you'll understand a coding called CSS. If you jump right into it, it can be a little confusing and foreign, but honestly CSS is one of the easiest codes to understand once you understand first how a website works. And I believe understanding tables is one of the best ways to do that, because again, once you get that whole flow and how things work, you will understand how to build CSS, and we'll show you that in later tutorials, of course. So I'm just creating individual buttons for every single one of these. I got that, and I'm just going to keep this as one. I'll make it all the way down. Okay, that's going to do it as far as the slicing it up. Now we're going to go over here to our slice selection tool. If you go over the slice tool, hold the left click down, go to slice select tool. Alright, for this we're going to call it, if you double click in the slice, this is slice 01, where it says my site 01. All of them are going to have my site 0 whatever number it is. So it's 01's for this. If you have 20 slices, they'll all be no order like that. But we don't want that. We want it to be a little bit more organized when we export it out. So for this we're going to type up banner. For this we're going to type button about. For this we're going to type button contact, button demo, button images, button music. So those are our buttons that we created. And now we're going to do our footers, but we can't name them buttons again because we want to know what they are down here. So we're going to call them footer, footer home, footer about, footer contact. And you'll notice while we're doing this, you can actually, if you know what your URL is going to be, you can go ahead and put it in here. Or you can do it when we get into Dreamweaver, and I'll show you how to do that. Now the only page I'll be creating for you here is this splash page. I'm not going to go into extreme detail with creating each separate page. You can use this as a template for our other pages and just swap out the content as long as it's the same size that fits in. Because again, like I said, we're creating a table. And if you break those borders by inserting sizes that are either larger or smaller, it starts shifting everything around, which is the main reason you don't want to build a website with just tables. Okay, so I got a little carried away with this part and started naming everything footer. That's fine if you do that, it won't affect anything, but no, you do not have to. Okay, you could have named this, for example, just contact. Okay, now that we have all the layers that we want named and everything, we will know what they are when they are exported out. We're going to see that you see these gray ones. These are ones that Photoshop automatically cut for you and put them in there. Right now they're going to come out as white chunks, but we don't want that. We want to go ahead and double click on one where it says image. There's a drop down. Just go to no image. Don't worry about typing anything in there. Go ahead and click OK. And let's do that for all the rest of the images that are grayed out right here. So that no image. 08 image. One last thing I want to do before I export my project to Dreamweaver, I want to click on my banner layer and just make sure that it is farther over. If you'll notice over here, the shadow is cutting off, and that's going to make a big deal or a big difference whenever we do the banner later. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control-T and just make sure it's all the way across exactly the same. It looks like it's a continuation just cut off. Alright. Also, before we export it, we want to make sure on our nav bar that the color overlay is turned off. And down here where we created our footer, let's make sure that our underlines, the entire layer is just turned off as well. So all these down here, on, off, make sure those are off, and make sure the color overlay, the white shiny look, is off as well. So now we'll go ahead and export. And we're going to do that by clicking left click on File, go down to where it says Save for Web and Devices. Another option is to click Alt Shift Control S. So we're going to go ahead and left click that.